Good morning, YouTube, and good afternoon too, I guess. Still morning here in Australia and afternoon and early evening in America. Just going live at the moment with some really sad breaking news out of America that Botham Jean's neighbour, who was a key witness in the Amber Guyger trial, has been shot to death in Dallas. Some of you might remember him giving evidence in the trial. He was wearing a blue T-shirt. He burst into tears when he was on the stand giving evidence. And I'm just reading an article at the moment from the Dallas Morning News saying that he died at the hospital after Friday night's shooting in the 4600 block of Cedar Springs Road. This article is a live article that is being updated, and I might just read the article out to you. Good morning, or hi Amy, hi Shanna, Bridget, hi Elle. Yeah, some shocking news coming out of Dallas that one of Botham Jean's neighbours who gave evidence in the Amber Guyger trial has been shot and killed Friday evening at an apartment complex near Dallas's medical district, according to authorities. I might just read a little bit of the article out while we go along. I'm shaking. Shanna, thank you for sending me through this article, but it's just unbelievable. Obviously, there will be updates, I would imagine, fairly constantly now that they've now that they've identified him and named him as the victim. But yes, he was one of the witnesses in the trial that really touched so many people's hearts because he burst into tears, and his evidence was obviously super important in the trial as well. I mean, he was definitely a key witness. But I'll just go through the article and read it, and I'll just keep popping over to Streamlabs too to check if there's any comments. I can only really give you what I'm finding at the moment. So we'll read the article first up. I'm assuming my sound is okay. Can someone let me know if it's not? Because I've literally just turned this on and started chatting. It looks like my circle is vibrating. I'm not putting the camera on me because I'm just going to be reading an article, and also it's not early morning, but it's morning in Australia. We had daylight saving overnight, and I don't think you need to see my face, but also the way I'm sitting at the moment. You can see my dishes from breakfast behind me. Anyway, that's really neither here nor there. So the article I'm going to read from is the Dallas Morning News. The headline, Botham Jean's neighbour, Botham, I need to keep saying Botham, Jean's neighbour, a key witness in the Amber Guyger trial, has been shot to death in Dallas. Joshua Brown died at the hospital after Friday night shooting in the 4600 block. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, 4600 block of Cedar Springs Road. The most recent update is from 5:30 p.m. with the victim's identity. That's 5:30 p.m. Dallas time. Here we go. A key witness in Amber Guyger's murder trial was shot and killed Friday evening at an apartment complex near Dallas's medical district, authorities said. Joshua Brown, a neighbour of Botham Jean's and Guyger at the Southside Flats apartments, was slain at about 10:30 p.m. in the 4600 block of Cedar Springs Road. I might just check and see if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you, Shanna, for letting me know about the sound. Yeah, it's kind of a nice thought, isn't it, Amy, Darcy Marie, that they may find each other. Hi, Berg. Yeah, really sad news. Shocking. I think with any trial being televised, you do get connected to witnesses and all the players in the courtroom, really, and to have only really got to know Joshua Brown as a witness who testified at the Guyger trial and who was a key witness and also who gave such touching testimony. It's pretty heartbreaking. I'll continue on with the article. We'll see if there's any more information that might shed a little bit of light on what happened to Joshua Brown. He was only 28 years old. This is just tragic. He lived across the hall from Botham, and he's the one who testified about the night Botham was killed. And for those of you who watched the trial and saw Joshua giving his testimony, he, being directly opposite the apartment, he gave testimony regarding the arrival of the paramedics. Obviously, he was aware of Amber Geiger in the corridor. I'm just scrolling down here to see if I can find a summary of his testimony in case anyone is still trying to remember who he is. But he had a blue T-shirt when he was on in court, and he is the one that was coming home on the night of Botham's murder and said that he thought it sounded like two people that had kind of bumped into each other by surprise. He couldn't understand what they were saying or what they were speaking at the time. And he's also the witness who was asked if he heard Amber Geiger say, "Put your hands up," or "Show me your hands." And he said he hadn't. And the other neighbours who gave evidence as well also said the same thing. Joshua Brown also is the witness who said he'd just met Botham Jean for the first time the day he was killed. They had a brief chat in the hallway. He did say he heard Botham singing from time to time, anything from gospel music to Drake. And yeah, he burst into tears when he was giving evidence, and the judge actually gave him passed him a box of tissues, and then he ended up being so upset that Judge Kemp actually sent the jury out of the room and called a recess and gave Joshua Brown an opportunity to calm down a bit. You know, and I'm reading, sort of paraphrasing an article at the moment. I probably wouldn't have written "calm down." I mean, he was obviously distressed, but that's who we're talking about. Joshua Brown, aged 28, who's lost his life. He's been shot in Dallas and sadly has died. I'm just now back to the article from the Dallas Morning News announcing that he was shot to death in Dallas and that he passed away on Friday night at about 10:30 p.m. Dallas County Prosecutor Jason Hermes, the lead prosecutor in the Geiger case, said on Saturday that Joshua Brown stood up at a time when others won't say what they know. He bravely came forward to testify when others wouldn't, Hermes said. If we had more people like him, we would have a better world. So on Friday night, several witnesses flagged down police and they directed them to Joshua Brown's location, and they found him on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital where he died from his injuries. Witnesses told police they heard several gunshots and saw a silver four-door sedan speeding out of the parking lot. But no description regarding the suspect has been released. And basically, yes, the suspect or suspects are on the loose still. Now, this article does contain an audio file about of Joshua Brown giving evidence in the Amber Geiger trial, but I don't think I should play that. Yes, Berg, it's so sad, isn't it? You know, singing gospel music and also Drake. And yeah, it was hard not to be moved by him, because he was sort of the face, I guess, of the humanity of this case in a way, like the number of people that were so affected by it. And even just, I remember when he was giving evidence, even just saying he'd only spoken to Botham for the first time the day before, but you could see that he was so drastically affected by what happened to both of them. And I can't work out what the story is here. It's pretty horrific. I won't play Joshua Brown's testimony from the Amber Guyger trial. I'll keep going down with the article. They're now talking about the night of September the 6th, 2018, when Joshua Brown was in the hallway of the 4th floor of the Cedars apartment building where he and Botham Jean lived, and when he thought he heard the sound of two people, what sounded like two people meeting by surprise. So it's now gone back into the description I gave just before about the evidence. There's a tweet, give me a moment, from Esley Merritt Esquire. I just spoke with Joshua Brown's mother. She's devastated. We all are. Joshua Brown was key witness in the murder of Botham Jean that helped put Amber Guyger away. We need answers. Okay, I'm going to go to this Twitter account. It's s.lee Merritt, MERRITT Esquire. He's a national civil rights lawyer, inspirational speaker, social justice activist. And yeah, so the tweet is pretty much what I've just read out. He's also provided a video in one of his tweets with footage of Joshua Brown giving evidence in the Guyger trial. There's a second tweet. I'm just going to read it out. There's a lot of text, so just bear with me. Sorry, I'm already reading the article before I start speaking. I'm just checking in on chat again. Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it, Elle? It's really hard to process this news. I mean, it could just be a horrific coincidence, but it's just heartbreaking. So now I'm back on Twitter looking at Esley Merritt Esquire. He's tweeted quite a bit about Joshua Brown's death, and he's a national civil rights lawyer and inspirational speaker, social justice activist. But there's a lot of text here, so I'm just going to read it out for you all. Joshua Brown, the next-door neighbour of Botham Jean, was killed last night after being shot several times by an unknown assailant. Local media has reported on the shooting but have not confirmed Brown's identity. Because Brown worked closely with prosecutors just a week ago to ensure Amber Guyger was properly convicted in the murder trial, the DA's office has fairly direct contact with Brown and his family. An ADA has confirmed that it was in fact Brown who was killed, although they have yet to identify a suspect or motive for the shooting. The case is now in the hands of the Dallas Police Department. Brown's testimony stood out as a fact witness who was approaching his apartment directly across from Botham Jean's apartment when shots rang out. Brown was still visibly shaken up from the incident when he took to the stand to testify on behalf of the prosecution. His murder underscores the reality of the Black experience in America. A former athlete turned entrepreneur, Brown lived in constant fear that he could be the next victim of gun violence, either state-sanctioned or otherwise. We have more work to do, he's left out two again, to deal with the constant threats to our community, both from within and without. Brown deserves the same justice he sought to ensure the Jean family, or the Jean family. The Dallas County criminal justice system must mobilize, sorry, there are a few typos. I'm trying to read it without including them. The Dallas County criminal justice system must be mobilized to identify his killer and see that he is held accountable for this murder. Wow. There's another tweet, CJ Lawrence, tragic update on Joshua Brown, an essential witness in the Amber Guyger trial via attorney Merritt Law. I didn't personally know this young man, but I love the honesty and fortitude he displayed during the trial, and it hurts that we lost another brother today. They're really good words, actually. It's so right. It was his honesty and also his fortitude. This is just so sad. There's a lot of tweets, obviously, going around the Twitter sphere at the moment about it. I'll keep an eye on Merit Law because he's, Esley Merritt or Merit Law. He's pretty active on Twitter at the moment talking about it. Just seeing what that is. Okay. So I'll just pop back into chat again. I'm in shock too, Shanna. I really appreciate you sending me through this link. I don't normally go live on serious criminal issues, but obviously I was very invested in this trial as well, and still am. I'm in a lot of online forums discussing it, but yeah, it's I was shaking. It's so weird, isn't it? You know, we follow true crime and we get so attached to people, and because trials are streamed and we get to watch them, you know, you sort of get connected to people in the courtroom, and it's just heartbreaking. And I think that tweet saying that Joshua Brown lived in constant fear of being shot. I've certainly been involved in some conversations in my child free group, you know, trying to understand. I mean, I'm never ever going to know what it feels like to be on the planet in black skin, but I can certainly ask members of my group about it, and it's just so horrific to even imagine people just living in constant fear that they're either going to be shot and killed by either you know, but what was the wording? A victim of gun violence, either state sanctioned or otherwise. It just, and living in a country where, you know, we've got very full on gun control, and don't worry, I'm not going to start lecturing America about gun control. I think your situation is way different to Australia's. I think the reality is in America now, there's so many guns that you couldn't possibly bring about gun control like we did. But I think in terms of how it's regulated and stricter controls and so on, maybe that's something for us to discuss another day. But I certainly wouldn't impose on any Americans the vibe that we have in Australia or what happened here in Australia, because it's different. I mean, you've got more guns than people in America, so yeah, it's a completely different kettle of fish. I'm just going to keep scrolling down this article as well. There's another tweet showing the body cam footage of a police officer arriving at the apartment after Geiger shot both of them. They're talking about the case. There's another video, not video, an audio grabbed from the trial on day 2. There's links to the sexual texts that Amber Geiger was sending her police partner. There's the still photograph of her in the apartment when the paramedics and police have arrived. It just looks like a fairly lengthy summary of the trial itself. Just keeping scrolling down slowly to see if there's anything else about. This is okay. There's a lot of information about the trial, and then I've just scrolled down now, and Joshua Brown, again, there's another video of him with giving evidence on the stand. More audio. There's lots of audio at the end of the article. So I'll just refresh the page and see if there's any further updates. Yeah, there is a new update. Give me a moment. The page is just loading. So we've got a new update from 6:18 p.m. Dallas time. It just says it was revised to include details from the neighbour's testimony. Gee, that's really strange. All the stuff about Joshua Brown's missing now from the... Oh, I'm on the wrong article. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Let's have a swig of water too. So after the tweet from S. Lee Merritt Esquire that I read before, it goes back to Joshua Brown's testimony on the day, talking about how he heard Botham Jean singing gospel music and Drake. Then they quote Lee Merritt, a civil rights attorney who represents the Jean family, called Brown a former athlete turned entrepreneur whose slaying underscores the reality of the Black experience in America. Brown lived in constant fear that he could be the next victim of gun violence, Merritt wrote on Facebook. Brown deserves the same justice he sought to ensure the Jean family. That is so true. There's a Google Maps picture showing exactly where 4600 or 4600 Cedar Springs Road, Dallas is. It's not far from the hospital, sadly, where he was taken, where he's later passed away. There's no comments. You need to submit a letter to the editor. Okay, I'm just going to scroll back up now that I'm on the correct page. I've got heaps of windows open. I was about to go live today about hoodies, and I should have put this up the end where it was easy to find. So no, there's been no further update since 5:30 Dallas time. So just repeating the story, if any more people have joined us. A key witness in Amber Guyger's murder trial was shot and killed Friday evening at an apartment complex near Dallas's medical district. Joshua Brown, a neighbour of Botham Jean's and Guyger at the South Side Apartments, was slain at about 10:30 p.m. in the 4600 block of Cedar Springs Road. And I think many of you who watched the Amber Guyger trial will remember Joshua Brown was the beautiful man, only 28 years of age, who lived across the hall from Botham and who testified about the night Botham Jean was killed. Dallas County Prosecutor Jason Hermes, the lead prosecutor in the Guyger case, said Saturday that Brown stood up at a time when others won't say what they know. He bravely came forward to testify when others wouldn't. If we had more people like him, we would have a better world. Oh, guys, this is just heartbreaking. I'm going to come over to comments and see. Oh, I've missed being there. See you being there. Just give me a moment. I'm going to scroll back up. There's no knowledge at the moment yet what the motive could have possibly been. So it's way too early to speculate. I'll give you the little bit of information that we've got about what happened on Friday night. Several witnesses flagged down police and directed them to Brown's location. Police found him on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital where he died from his injuries. Witnesses told police they heard several gunshots and saw a silver four-door sedan speeding out of the parking lot. No suspect description has been released. So that's all we know at the moment. It's obviously going to be a developing story. He was an incredible witness in the Guyger trial. He was handed a box of tissues by the judge, and she actually adjourned the session to give him an opportunity to, well, I guess to process everything that he was experiencing while he was giving evidence. And she was incredibly respectful of him. It was all very moving, and there's a lot of short videos of him giving testimony on YouTube. If you want to refresh your memory who Joshua Brown was, I'm on StreamYard. I don't know how to put, well, I don't have the updated version yet, so I can't even put a photo or anything like that up of him to show you, but I think most of you in here know who I'm talking about. There's also S. Lee Merritt Esquire tweeting about it at the moment, and I'm just seeing if he's updated his tweets. Yes, there's a tweet from, okay, there was a tweet from 5 minutes ago from S. Lee Merritt Esquire, who represented Botham Jean's family, where Joshua Brown was shot seems to be disputed. I was told by immediate family that the ME said mouth and chest. Initially, I was told in the back. I just heard from a witness who provided aid to a wound in the buttocks and side. We will have to await the autopsy to be sure. I've just found a tweet from him an hour ago that says Joshua Brown was shot in his mouth and chest. He was exiting his car at his apartment where he was ambushed and shot at close range. His mother asked my office to help find out who murdered her son. She suspects foul play. He had no known enemies. He worked for a living. We need answers. Right, so that tweet was an hour ago, and then there's one from 5 minutes ago saying that there is now, it appears to be, there's a bit of a dispute about where he was shot. Although the article that I read out before did say he was found on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. So it's quite possible that all the different versions that Esley Merritt Esquire is talking about on Twitter could possibly all be accurate. Because he says where Joshua Brown was shot seems to be disputed. I was told by immediate family that the ME, I'm assuming that's medical examiner, said mouth and chest. Correct me if I'm wrong, if ME is something else. So the family, immediate family said, the ME said mouth and chest. Initially, I was told in the back, this is Esley Merritt Esquire, by the way, not me saying this. I just heard from a witness who provided aid to a wound in the buttocks and side. We will have to await the autopsy to be sure. How heartbreaking and sad. It's incredibly hard to process. You're right, Elle, I think it is incredibly sad news, and my heart aches as well. It's enough tragedy for that community, and I just have to turn my phone down. Sorry, it's ping-ponging like a ping-ponger. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's pretty sad, isn't it? It just the whole story, the Botham Jean story, just how tragic that was, and now for this to have occurred. And I would imagine that anyone in that courtroom would have felt bonded so much watching that trial, and the actions of Brant Jean at the end giving Amber Geiger a hug is evidence of that. You know, this trial was awful, this crime was horrible, but it brought so many people together, and you would feel, everyone in that room would have felt close to Joshua Brown. You know, he would have meant the world to Botham's family because he'd spoken to Botham the day before. And, you know, when you lose someone personal to you, it's the people that have the last sort of stories of that person being alive that mean the most, because you want to know, you know, were they happy? What was going on? How were they feeling? Like, that sort of stuff is so important when you're grieving. And if you are able to get information from someone who's encountered your loved one who's lost their life, like, I imagine Botham's family would be just absolutely devastated. Obviously, Joshua Brown's family, it's really hard to take it all in, isn't it? You're right, Straight Fact, if you're still around. We don't know a lot of information yet. And I mean, a few things are coming out. I'm just going to refresh the Dallas Morning News again to see if we've got any updates from there. It's just unbelievable and heartbreaking. So no further updates from the Dallas Morning News, and just going back over to Twitter to see Esley Merritt Esquire. He's tweeting, his last tweet is the same one we were just talking about where Joshua Brown was shot. The article in the Dallas Morning News does say that there were multiple gunshot wounds. In terms of the incident itself, there's not a lot of detail other than to say on Friday night, several witnesses flagged down police and directed them to Brown's location. Police found him on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital where he died from his injuries. Witnesses told police they heard several gunshots and saw a silver four-door sedan speeding out of the parking lot. No suspect description has been released. And then Esley Merritt Esquire tweeted an hour ago that Joshua Brown's mother asked his office to help find out who murdered her son. She suspects foul play. He had no known enemies. He worked for a living. We need answers. And now I can't find it. Oh dear. Where did I see the comment that he'd come home and he was ambushed in the parking lot? I can't find that now. This is so sad. I mean, if you look on Esley Merritt Esquire's Twitter account, you know, on the 4th of October, he's retweeting Botham Jean's mum, saying how proud she was of her son Brant, for giving Amber a hug. You know, just, that was on the 4th of October, you know, and here we are now on the 6th of October. And Joshua Brown's been shot and killed in Dallas. I did see somewhere that Botham was coming home and got ambushed. I'm really sorry I can't find that now. I don't know where I saw that. But terribly sad. Okay, over to chat. It is pretty freaky, isn't it, Amy? You know, and I guess there will be a lot of speculating if it's connected and so on. I mean, it certainly sounds like it's been, well, it's too early, I guess, at the moment. You know, it's been discussed in a few different places that I've managed to locate, and nobody really needs to know what, nobody seems to know what the true story is at the moment, even his family, who would be desperate for answers. Thank you, Amy. It was Shanna who sent me the article. Thank you, Shanna, for sending that through and giving me a chance to go live about it. Oh, hi, Jolene. I know it's very hard to fathom, isn't it? It's so heartbreaking. I think Josh B might have come and gone, but thank you, Joshy, for popping in. If you have. Bergstrong, I was on another channel briefly, one I've not heard of before. They said he was getting death threats during the trial. That was my instant thought, was that it was an act of retaliation. I seriously hope not. I seriously hope not. With Amber Guyger getting 10 years, which I still can't get my head around, to be honest. But I've spoken at length with friends of mine who are POC about the decision of the jury, even though it was very much made up of racial minorities. I think there were 2 white people, and the remaining people on the jury, I think there were 6 black people, 2 Hispanics, 2 Asians, something like that. And I didn't understand how the sentence ended up being so light, but I've had a lot of conversations with friends of mine who've explained to me why that jury reached that sort of verdict, which is heartbreaking in itself. But if this murder of Joshua Brown is an act of retaliation, this is just absolutely despicable and heartbreaking. Yeah, it's hard enough to fathom that he's been shot and killed, let alone thinking about what the motive might have been. Hi, Spacey. You might be at the airport by now. I'm really sorry I missed being there. Correct, Jolene. There's no suspect information at all. Right, Berg. I was scrolling through YouTube to see more info. Went on this channel. There's a lot of anti-police talk, so I got off. Well, if this is an act of retaliation, then there's going to be a lot of anti-police talk. I suspect it's not going to help, obviously, like Amy said, but I'm not really interested in going into too much speculation. I really just wanted to go live and give us all an opportunity to process this latest news. It's just horrific. Yeah, it's hard to process it. KK Bronson, hello. If it's the Atira Apartments in Dallas, it looks like a lovely place. I do have it's the 4600. I don't know how you guys pronounce that. I mean, me reading it, I'd call it the 4600 block of Cedar Springs Road. It does have the detail of the actual name of the building. Just give me oh no, sorry, it was the Southside Flat Apartments when well then I think he's still living in the same building. Joshua Brown, a neighbour of Botham Jeans and Geiger at the Southside Flat Apartments, was slain in the 4600 block of Cedar Springs Road. Are they the same? Is it the same building? Is it the same complex? I might pop back over to Lee Merritt because he's got a lot of information, and I'll see if in that thing that I read out, if it mentions it. It's obviously still pretty close to where Botham Jean was murdered. It's all in the same district, I think, but I could be really wrong on that. Hang on, I'll scroll down into chat and see if people know because I'm way behind. I'm sorry, Berg, if there's been some misunderstanding in chat about that. I fully understood what you were saying, and I don't think it's surprising people are blaming police. It's hard though, isn't it, in chat? Like, this is why going live can be good, because at least you can detect people's tone when they're talking. Plain text can be so misleading and confusing. 4600 block is correct. Yeah, the same complex. Thank you, Shanna. I also disagree with the length of the sentence. It's just incredibly light on. But anyway, thank you for all joining me. I didn't mean to go quite this long. Obviously, there will be a lot of updates following this particular horrific crime. I can't even imagine what Joshua Brown's family are going through, but also for the family of Botham Jean, you just think this is all just going to bring back not only memories of what happened to their son, but also Joshua was a witness in their son's, well, in the trial of Amber Geiger. And, you know, they would have bonded with this man, and he was such a key witness. It's just heartbreaking. So I think there'll be a lot more updates of this, and we will find out in due course what happened. I will keep an eye on it, and if there's any news that breaks, I'll pop a video up or do another little quick live about it. But I hope everyone has a really pleasant evening. Hug your loved ones, because the thing with Botham Jean's trial is how quickly your life can change in a second, and we've all just got to remember that. I think our society spends way too much time planning for the future, for retirement, for having enough superannuation, for getting rid of your mortgage. That stuff is okay to contemplate, but right here, right now, when you're alive, these are the moments that matter. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you, Shanna, for sending that article through, as tragic as it is. I hope everyone has a lovely evening. And for the Aussies out there, I hope you have a good Sunday. I was meant to be going live right about now. I think I might just reschedule that, possibly even to tomorrow, because I'm kind of curious to see if any more news comes out about this, but also it's shifted my mood a little bit. But love you guys. Stay groovy and talk to you again soon. Take care out there, everyone.